So I have much to apologize for because of the tremendous delays that I'm having in between shiurim. I'm traveling around the country like I've never traveled before like this. And I can't get settled in one place. At any rate, we're continuing on in the Sod class. There's the T.K.E elevator kollel, bringing on the Sod class. We're trying to get as much out into the world as possible. Yesterday, Rabbi Memran told me that he found me on the internet, which I think is, really interesting. He's found me a lot of places because we've done over 100 shiurim. And this shiur is really strictly for the Sod class. However, if you can follow it, it's good. We're at the beginning of the conception of the concept of a kli here, page Lamed Vav. And we're going to start with number Yud Daled. Maybe I'll start with number Yud Gimel, which is the paragraph on page Lamed Vav. We're trying to understand how it is that a kli is made and the separation of oros. And I could say that this is, like we're really at the beginning of the Yotzos Chaim, but all the beginnings of the Yotzos Chaim are the foundation of much bigger, greater ideas. So just because this is at the beginning, Shaar Haakudim has multiple manifestations elsewhere. So, but we're trying to understand Olam Hakudim. What's going on in this universe? So, background again. Hakudim means the binding. Because before you had nothing. There was nothing originally. And then, as the Eibishter caused things to take shape in a certain form, but we're learning the details of how, in fact, he does this. And this could correspond to all kinds of things in physics if you're a scientist and you really want to learn it. Rabbi Memran is really big into looking into physics now, because it explains certain ways in which the Olam, or it's trying to explain which the Eibishter, how the Olam is working. So here he says, number Yud Gimel at the top, V'yinyin ki b'vadai hush b'chinas ha'kli hoy b'koyach. That the aspect of the kli was always potential, was always there. Remember these we're talking about oros that are coming out of the pad da'ak. There's lots of different kinds of lights, and they come from different places. As we had said, and I'm repeating again, some comes from the right side, comes from the left. Some comes from the right ear, some comes from the left ear, right nostril, left nostril. All of this, or these oros, aspects of these oros, let's say, come out of the mouth. Now, as this is happening, as they're pooling, they're getting more physical, because it's moving away from the very shorish, which will be at the top. So therefore, as we're moving away from it, we're getting more physical. All of these things, the possibility of a kli with or inside of it, existed all along. Even though you couldn't see that there was a kli inside of this blinding light, let's say, because it's the part of the light which was thicker and more gross, or let's say more physical. But it was unbelievable. But it was really joined together. They're joined together really well, so you can't tell the difference. Just like we see in like the light that we have from our sun. If you put a prism to it, you find out there's lots of different variables in that light. So therefore, you can't see the kli. There's no reveal of its aspect. As the light goes out from the mouth and starts to go out, everything is mixed up together. Just like the light through before it hits the prism, you can't see the different colors, but they're there. Now, Yud Daled is where we're going to start today. As the light goes up to its root, and it's going to become completed, it goes back to its root to become completed. We know that as the light comes out of the mouth, so the thicker part of the light, which is that part which is going to become the kli, it gets more thick. So then through this, it's not able to go back like it did, because now you have a light part and a heavy part, and what's going to happen to the heavy part can't move so well. The nipshat maha'or hazak, so what happens is you have a separation for the light, which is more refined. Hazak b'menu v'alo el makoro kanizkar, and it goes up to its root as it's mentioned. V'az nitoisef b'or ha'av hanizkar, then it gets added onto that, ivui yoser, a greater thickness, al ivuyo, than the thickness that it had to begin with. V'az nigbar v'nishar b'chinas kli, and what happens is, as a result of this, you now have the aspect of a kli, because the more refined parts separated, now you have something heavy or thick, something that could hold something else. Let's look at the tiv on the bottom. This is number Yud Dalet, and it's the light print. Now we're going to talk about how do you make a kli in the kudim. A kudim is the binding of oros together to make a kli. So since the light came out of the mouth, nothing was done to it. It wasn't rebuilt, legamri. It wasn't completely rebuilt. So there's a fact that we have to mention. So they had to go back into the mouth of Ak in order to become completed. So in other words, they came out of the mouth, but now they got to go back because they came out. The Eibishter planned it in such a way that these oros could come out incomplete. So now to become complete, they have to go back to their source. Now, we're not getting into the details of, there's a shar, which is called mati velo mati. As the light goes back, exactly what happens inside the mouth, it's in a different shar, which we have only in the Eitz Chaim. So we've explained up above. There are 3 different divisions amongst the lights. Here you go. First one, number Aleph. There's a light. It's the very panemius, the most inside, in other words, closest to the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, that's inside of Ak. Shu Chut Ein Sof. This light is the light of the Ein Sof. The ultimate panemius is the light of nothing, whatever that means. This is the highest possible level that a person could reach. So if you were Zeicha to buy Rabbi Memram's book, and you start to seeing how it's possible to get on the elevator right up there in that Tikkun elevator, and to really come as close as you possibly can to that place, which is the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. This is our source. Number 2 is the Gufa Da'ak. Shuhu HaMadrega Tachtoina B'Yoser. That's the lowest level of, or furthest away, let's say, in some way, from the Panemius. Number Gimel, who was Or Hayotze Megufa Da'ak. There's also lights coming out of the body, just like us. So we have heat coming out from our bodies, coming through the pores of the skin. Sharagam Shuhu Panemius Ak Atz. Most of that we understand, whereas we understand that this is actually coming from the Panemius of Ak, in other words, the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Ak Bekevin Shuhu Yotze the Chutz Derek Gufa Da'ak, but it has to go through the body of Ak in order to get out. It becomes more thick, and its light becomes weaker. So where is it? It's somewhere in between. It's somewhere in between the panemius of Ak and his body. It's a light that is coming from the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, but it's coming through a thickness. Now you see the pattern here is that what the Eibishter is doing, setting up creation. The creation actually has to do with making physicality out of something that's not physical. So this light that comes out of the inside of Ak, since it becomes thicker, as it has to pass through, it has to get out of the walls. In order to do some of that, to get out of the walls, it has to leave some of its light behind, which makes it thicker. So it comes out that the portion of the light, which is the thicker part, it gets thicker and thicker. So it's outside of Ak, but it can't get back, because the light that came out, he's saying, the light that came out of the body, and it has to do with the mouth as well, but you have all this light outside of Ak, and it has a certain thickness to it. Well, that part which came out of the goof is going to be thicker than anything. So this light, the more refined light that is inside. And to get this idea now, inside, outside. So the inside, you have the more refined light, the light that's much closer to its origin. Lo nisave kol kach, so it doesn't get so thickened. So therefore this light is able to return and come back into the mouth of Ak. Now as the light goes back and it becomes completed in the mouth, so now it came back in the Peh Ak. So now we see that there's a separation that took place. Now understand that Rabbi Menman mentioned today, which we all know, is we live in the Olam HaParut, the Olam of separations, whereas the Ein Sof Baruch Hu is one, only one, Shema Yisrael, right? So Hashem Echad, Shmo Echad. Everything's only oneness. Whatever you look at, it's always oneness, but we live in a world of separation. But here we see that the Eibishter is actually causing separation, because it's the only way that you could have a physical world. So what happens is that only the refined light goes back into the mouth of Ak. So what happens is that you get no movement out of the thicker part of the light. It doesn't go up. It stays right where it was. Because now it's become much heavier. It's much thicker. He says thicker, not heavier. But I think it sounds pretty much the same to me. It's not able to accompany the Or Azak back into the Peh Ak, so it has to remain down below. So he said, so after we have a histalkos of the light, the more refined light, and it goes back to its root, and what happens is it remains below the thicker light. Now let's see, what happens now? The nishar lamata, what happens? Now you separated the thin light, let's call it the thin light for the thick light. And the thin light went back to the Peh Ak. The thick light stayed in its place. And now he said, the nishar lamata ha'ora av, so the thick light now is still where it was. Nishara b'chutz asara chelki oros mu'uvim. So it turns out if you really had an atomic, super atomic Ein Sof microscope, that you could look at it and you could see that actually you could take this thick bit of light and you could divide it into 10. And from those 10 parts, it's one light, one thick light, divided into 10. So you take those 10, this is going to become the basis of Olam HaDekudim, HaKolom Asara Cholokim, which has within it 10 Cholokim. Shabo Asidin the Hislavesh es Spheres Dekudim. And in this, we're going to see that the 10 spheres of Akudim are going to be clothed inside of these thick sections. Now, here he uses the Tiv uses the word spheros. So we have really only one possible sphere here. We haven't heard those words yet. Divided into 10. It's not 10 spheros, but he says the 10 spheros of the Kudim could be corresponding to the concept of the division of the one sphere into 10. Let's do a little bit more. He says V'im Tomar. So if you say Im Kem Kasher Yachso HaOr Hazak Lerid. So now, as the more refined light, now it's finished up. It's inside of the mouth. Got finished up over there. Now it's coming back down. Now let's say like between the mouth and the, I forget whether it's the chaza, where it extends down to the chaza. I think that probably is right, but I'm not sure 100% yet. So he says that the light is in this area right here, right? So now you have the light come at this. That's the thicker light. Those are going to be the kalim. Now you have the original light, which has now got itself really fixed up and it's really purified, is going to come back into those kalim. So he said, so let me start the line again. Im toimer, so you have the kasha here. Im ken kasher yachso ha'or chazak lered lehispashe b'kli kiberishayna. When you see that this light is going back, and it's going to spread into those kalim, or it's one kli with 10 parts, yachso v'yizdake kli. So what'll happen is it's going to come back, and it's going to give the kli the same qualities that it used to have when everything was mixed up together. If you take the light away, if you take say you had one light, you split off one part, send it back to the pad da'ak, the other one's still sitting here. So now you take the light and you bring it back into those 10 parts. What happens is you got 10 and 10 again. It's only one light that you can't tell the difference. That's his kasha. So let's see how he explains it in the Tiv. So the Tiv says, light print only on number Tesvav, which is number 15. Yesh lahachshos. This is a kasha over here. When you separate the two lights, the thick light for the thin light, so when the thin light goes back to its root, you have now the kli, one kli, right, of akudim. Shabo asidin the Islavish oros the kudim. In this, we're going to learn about this in detail over here. We're going to see that inside of it is going to be closed the lights of the akudim. So the kasha, what do we gain by this? So you have the light from the more refined light leaves, the nasa kli, and it leaves behind the kli. So he said, but what happens is when you bring the light back, it's going to nullify the kli because they're going to be back to the same mix again. So that later on we're going to explain, well, really, how it is that the lights come back and they don't go back and become one entity again, that you can't tell the difference between the thick and the thin part. When the lights come back and they're going to come out of the pad da'ak, so this will make the light, the kli, more refined again. Shuha or ha'av, which used to be the or ha'av. Remember, we went through a process here, a separation, which allowed the kli to become more physical. So, but now when you bring the light back, you're going to refine it again. So then you're going to come back to nothing, to the mix again. It will mix together again with the more refined light. You will no longer have a kli for the akudim again anymore. And if that's the case, how are you going to make a kli of the akudim? So that'll be it for today. We'll leave with that question, and then next time we'll come back and we'll see how the ma'atzil brings about the kli of akudim.